Welcome to the Retirement Halftime Show. I'm Heather McWilliams. Joining us is Alexander Joyce with ReJoyce Financial. Alex, the retirees coming up are the first generation to be relying primarily on private savings versus pension, right? This is different from our parents, our grandparents. Why does this matter, and what can people do to kind of ease their financial anxiety?
The simple answer to me, Heather, is plan first, invest later. Right? And I say it over and over and over. Financial planning is so important, and it's so different than the structure of like wealth management. And people think that, in no offense to my audience, of course, you've heard me say this over and over as well. When people come in, they have significant savings or very little or never as much as they hope or think, right? Yeah. And what I generally tell people is that is a pile of money. Yeah. And it's very difficult to retire on a pile of money, because generally what happens, whether you have a Roth or you have an IRA, or you have a brokerage account or a joint account or individual stocks, generally people, when I say and ask, what piece of this portfolio do you want to start to use first to live off of, right? And they point at that one, and I say, what is that one? And they say, well, that's the largest. And I said, what is your hope there? They said that it will last the longest, and hope is not a strategy. Yeah. I think that when we look at income planning, as you just mentioned, it is very difficult when we look back at like the rule of 72, yep. or the 4% withdrawal rule, which is, take 4% of the portfolio. Most people had a pension, you had Social Security with certainty, and then you had your assets. Take 4% out of your assets, index it with inflation every single year, and the likelihood that you would not outlive your money was slim to none. Yeah. Well, the biggest piece of that equation, if you will, is missing, which is the pension. And so I think that with inflation the way it is, with market uncertainty the way it is, with future uncertainty like tax reform the way it is, yep. It makes retiring today very frustrating, difficult, and uncertain. Right. And I think that one of the biggest things that we must do as individuals and as firms and as advisors is give proper advice. And I think we need to look at models and look at planning before we just start rushing in, and tax planning, if you will, before we start rushing in and start managing assets.
Right. You do need a roadmap. And I think that's what's so important, because as you mentioned, we don't know when we're going to pass, right? Inflation makes calculations so much more difficult. Portfolios are volatile. Yeah. So many factors play into this.
They do.
And that's why you guys are the perfect person.
We do. And I appreciate that. I mean, when we look at planning, there's a couple of things that are key elements, right? Tax planning is extremely important. Understanding long-term plans, right, with life change is extremely important. When I'm talking about longevity planning and what happens, not necessarily when you're called home, but when you are maturing in life, what does those dollars look like? When we look at income today versus income tomorrow, what is the goal of the dollars we're using in the next 5 or 10 years, right? Definitely differently than the bottom 10 years, if you will. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that people feel fulfilled, right? We want to make sure that we make a lifestyle whole. When we do portfolio management, or we do design or diversification, if you will, big words, we want to make sure that people first understand what we're trying to accomplish. We want to understand what the goal is for them. Then we want to build it. So a lot of times, to keep it really simple, and I've read a book that says this, a lot of people understand this, but we build two sides of a portfolio, which is your paycheck. Yes. Right? One that you can rely on. You can have sustainability and predictability. You know exactly what that looks like. Make your lifestyle whole. The other side is your playcheck. Mm-hmm. Right? So you want to play, right? Yes. And I think that people deserve to have freedom, and I think people deserve to feel like they've earned the right to do that. Mm-hmm. Life is short. Life is a commodity. The most precious commodity that we have in life is time. Yes. And we want people to use it, and we want people to feel like they can. Yeah. They can.
I read a statistic. 45% of current retirees, including 54% of female current retirees, said they found entering retirement to be somewhat or very stressful in terms of financial anxiety. That's more than half.
Yeah, I think that we of course, we vision and we call the first half of the mountain going up the first half of your financial journey, and you're saving. You get to the very top of this mountain, you're looking out and you are nervous, you are anxious. That is retirement anxiety. There should be coaches along that way to bridge that, to help them get down, just like any really strong mountain or a mountain climbing journey, like an athlete, right? This is real in life, two distinct phases of your financial life. And I think having that plan will create that confidence, and using us as a a person to help you get down along that way, I think it creates peace of mind and confidence.
And the more I talk to you, the more the takeaway for me is it is never too early to start planning for retirement. Guys, you need to be doing this now. You don't wait until your 60s. Come to a firm like yours that is holistic. You guys have everything under one roof, and it doesn't cost a penny just to come in and see you.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah. As always, great information, Alex, and we're going to have a lot more coming up in a few minutes.